Good morning, everyone. Other participants are also joining in right now. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. And just to inform you that this session is currently live on YouTube also to enable more participants to join in. And can somebody confirm if my voice is audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, so let's wait for another 5 minutes and then we start the session.
Muy no toqueado. Ay, problema.
उदास शब्द वो उस पोजीशन के लिए था नहीं होगा असिस्टेंट का माना है देखिए एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कैदिबा होना अलग बात है। आप पढ़ा सकते हैं अलग चीज दोनों चीजें होना दूसरी बात वो क्या करेंगे जब देखिए क्लास
A very good morning once again, and now let us start with the session. Let me first start by introducing what we are going to do in this entire session. This is a session for trainers who are going to take the module of employability skills, and we'll go through this session of 3 hours, and we'll understand what employability skills is all about and how to deliver employability skills. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Gaurav, and I have been in this industry of uh, multiple capacities. I should say that I'm a professional have been a professional for almost 20 years. So that's the main thing which matters when it comes to talking about employability skills. I've been working in media industry for over 15 years, and today's session we'll talk about multiple things, and this session will be conducted from the perspective of a trainer, and we will talk about both the things: what employability skills are, the understanding of this concept, and also the delivery of this concept, where we are able to deliver this knowledge that we have, or transfer the knowledge that we gain in the session to the trainers again, or to the candidates wherever required. So let me share my screen and start with a small presentation. And I would request you to please put your microphones on mute for a while. Then once we start with the discussions and questions, then we can have the mic switched on. So starting with the session. So I hope my screen is visible to you.
Yes, visible.
Yes, let's move ahead with the employability skills. And when we start with the session, there is one very important rule when we go about this particular training, and that is everybody needs to participate. All the trainers who are part of this training needs to participate to understand the practical aspect as well as to put it into practice. Because when we talk about skills, it's not just knowledge; it is the ability to do something and to ensure that understanding has been fortified. We need to make sure that everybody participates. So during the session, we will have some breakouts where we'll have different groups of participants who will go into a breakout room and then conduct that activity, come back, and then we'll have a discussion on that particular activity. So let's introduce this employability skills. So very first question that would arise is, what is employability skills? Even before we start understanding what this is used for, let's understand what employability skill actually stands for, how it has been designed, and what is the main purpose of employability skill. Now, when we talk about the term employability, that means it's a combination of skills as well as traits. It's not purely skills and not purely traits, but a combination of these things. That means the traits which are inherent in a person or have been developed over the years through regular schooling, different kind of education, or just by interacting or socializing with people, and also the skills which are basically technical know-how of a particular ability or the ability to carry out a task. So once this entire combination is present, then we can call it an employability skills. So this is a summary of what employability is all about. Now let's talk about employability skills as such. So if we break it down into different parts, so we have the first part, which is employ. That means to be in a job or work for a salary or to generate some amount of money or to be a part of an economy, which is basically employ, where you get into a job and get a salary. That is where you do some sort of productive work. Ability is the state where you have the right skills and knowledge which are required for a specific task. And skill, which is slightly different from ability, is that ability is more about knowing something, whereas the skill is about actually doing something. So skill is something where you actually do things or where you are actually in action. So when we combine all these things, we come out with the term employability skills. Now, let's take this particular scenario to start with and to start understanding what employability skills actually are. So if we have this specific scenario where we take this task and do a sort of activity. Now, for this particular activity, you don't have to do it in groups. We'll just talk about this so that we understand what kind of activities can be done later. Now, if you start a business of car repair and you want to hire a full-time employee for supporting you in your business, and you receive a numerous number of resumes or candidate profiles, so what are you actually looking for in a particular candidate whom you will select to work with you? Now there can be a lot of different points, not only based on the skills. So if we go through the points which are there, I mean, do you want the person to be able to identify the problems which are there with the car? So obviously, the answer is yes. We should be hiring a person who understands what are the problems, because the main task of the person is to repair the car. So they need to understand how and what problems can happen with the car, and they are able to identify this. Now, if you look at the second, which is repairing and replacing different parts of the car, yes, definitely, that is also very important. The person should be able to repair and replace the different parts, because that's the main task. Then the third point, which is here, is manages their house well. So if we think, actually, this is not a very important criteria or any meaningful criteria when it comes to hiring that person, because how they manage their house doesn't directly or sort of indirectly affect their job or the employability. And the next point that we look at is the good communication skills. And yes, I think that is something that we all would agree, that good communication skills are important for any person, because this person may be interacting with a client where he might be talking to the owner of the car. And I would again request people to please put your mics on mute, because I think we are getting a lot of noise in the session. Please recheck your mics. Okay, I guess that solves the problem. Okay, and the next point that we have is good communication skills that we were talking about. So certainly we would want a person to have good communication skills, because they will be interacting with the client to understand what are the issues, so that they are able to do their work nicely. And secondly, they can also make the client feel comfortable and would make sure that people or the people would actually want to come for service to your workshop. Other than that, another ability could be to use computers to make bills for the customer, because you are hiring this full-time employee to support you. And if this additional skill is available, they can help you in more than one way. And finally, another good trait in a general or a generic trait would be honesty and dedication towards work, because this is certainly every employer will look for. You want an honest and a dedicated person to work for you. So if we look at the core skills or the main skills which are required for a car repair shop, the skills which are required are not only the ones which are related to repairing of the problem, but also some people skills, some good time management skills, and obviously some communication skills. So in a way, we can say that a combination of all these things will make a person very suitable for a specific type of task. Now, how employability skills can help a person in their career, either to start a career or to progress or grow in their career itself. So there are certain points to discuss on this particular topic also. Now, know how to behave in a professional environment is a very important skill, which helps in making a person desirable to be in that working environment. And It's a generic trait that is expected out of almost every employee who is in a professional environment, whether they are client facing or not. Most certainly, they might be working in teams or as an individual, but when somebody is working in a professional environment, the know how of the behavior or the way you interact is very important. The second skill would be how to work with a team, because in most of the cases, the organization would have a team structure. The employees are expected to work in a team and they should be comfortable working in a team. They should understand how to speak with their.
भारती मैडम कह रही यूट्यूब लिंक मौजूद.
Okay, so they should know how to work with the team and how to interact with the team members so that the team is able to work effectively. Other than that, obviously, identifying and solving problems can be a very great ability in identifying the people who are performing well. So the entire purpose of a task, to accomplish a task, is to create to solve a problem, to identify ways to solve a problem. So there are many subcomponents also when it comes to identifying and solving problems, but this is another desirable employability skill. Moving ahead is communication. Communication well at work, either with the teammates, the employers, or the client. But the communication itself is very important when it comes to being present in a professional environment. Now, talking about the new age skills and the environment in which we live today, understanding the use of digital tools, or you can say gaining digital literacy, ability to use digitization to their purpose is again another very, very important ability or skill which is highly desired in the people. Then also for personal growth, to find a meaningful career path, this particular skill will helping you in getting a right job, to ensure that employability is not just a static job, but you are able to identify or carve a proper path for your career, and then you can grow in your career. And another one is the primary one, which is to get hired for a job. Once the training or education or skilling has been completed for a candidate, they need to go for a job and they need to make sure that they get hired for a job. So getting hired for a job requires few tasks to be accomplished. So there is a skill, it is a skill in itself where you give yourself an ability to complete the tasks which are required to get you hired for a job. So these are all the things that we'll be discussing in the coming minutes. Now, talking about other ones is how to use digital technology comfortably. Speaking language such as English, because it's almost in all the industries where it has become a common language for the teams as well as the client and organization interactions. Confident as a person, which gives confidence to others also, and to be present, to present yourself well in the workplace. This is something very obvious, but it's a very important employability skills, which is related to your personal presence or personal, or you can say your presentation or presenting yourself to different stakeholders like your employer, organization, team members, as well as the client. Now let's start first with an activity, and it's a very small activity, and we'll create some breakout rooms. Now, since we have a large number of participants for the session, so instead of making a group of 5 people, we'll make a group of more than 5 people. And the task is very simple. You can list down top 10 skills that you would like your employees to have. So you have to first think of a company, you plan it out, discuss among yourselves that this is a particular company that we have. It can be an imaginary company, any interesting company or a organization that you want to plan, you can plan that. And then you need to identify top 10 skills that you would want your employees to have. These could be based on their core competencies, but as well as other properties that you would have. So let's divide all the participants into 5 groups. And once you get into the breakout rooms, you will have 5 minutes to discuss about these things, to list down 10 skills that you would want. And once we come back, then we'll talk about all these 5 companies and what are the skills that have been listed. So now let me put you into breakout rooms. Okay, I guess everybody is back from the room. So let's talk about the activity which we were discussing. So we can start with room number one. So anybody from room number one can unmute their mic and talk about what they discussed, the company and the employee they are looking for. Anybody from room number one? I hope everybody is joined back in the main.
Yes.
Okay, any participant from room number two would like to share? Room number three,
Hi,
4, 5.
yeah, room number two. Hi, this is Anil Luthra from
Ji.
room number two. I am from Vikas College, Vikhroli, Mumbai. So we had discussed about a film production company
Nice.
and film and TV production company, and the people we would like to employ should have skills of cinematography, editing, production management. Then one of our colleagues suggested reading. He should be a good reader to read, literary material. Then screenplay writing. Then makeup and hair department. We'll employ a makeup artist and hair dresser. Then art department, set designing, still photographer, a person with the knowledge of skill of computer graphics. Then we'll need a person who can make a good who is very good at presentation of projects. And then we can have a trait of adaptability and a team player.
Okay, nice one.
Yeah.
And that's great. So, did you think of a name for your company?
ABCD Film Production Company.
Okay, so that was, I think, extempore.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to room number three. Anybody from room number three, if they would like to talk about the activity? Room number 4.
Yes, I was there in room number 4. My name is Dr. Aman Vats.
Ji.
The name of the company was the Rising Star Productions. And the 10 skill sets that we had thought of presenting. First one was clarity of communication. The person should possess clarity in communicating with team members. Second was the ICT technology proficiency. Third was research competency we were looking at. Fourth was the innovative ideas the person should carry and implement. Fifth was problem solving attitude. Sixth was desire to learn new skills. Seventh is creative thinking. Eighth is consistent in effort. Shouldn't get disheartened too easily. Ninth was must be a team player. And 10th is effective PR skills.
Effective PR skills. Excellent. And did you say creative thinking or critical thinking?
Sir, we said creative thinking, but because I thought in research competency, critical thinking would be covered. Like similarly, data analysis we wanted to put separately, but we realized that in research competency, it will again get covered, sir.
Okay, so nice. That's nice. Let's move on to the next one, room number 5, I guess. Okay, no problem. So I would actually like to ask you to think about the very first slide that we had a look at was that you need to participate. There is a purpose for this. Basically, what we are doing here is all of us who are here are basically from a training background, and as we understand how the things evolve and how they change, it actually depends a lot on the trainers and the teachers, because we are the ones who are preparing new candidates who will go into the industry and do certain kind of things so that industry itself evolve. So we'll talk about the industry also, but I would recommend for further activities, you please, somebody, at least if nobody else is taking initiative, one of you in a specific room can take some initiative and start talking about those things. The idea here is because you
Hi,
already
sir.
have a G.
Yes, sir. This is Sanjay from Animation Department, KMP Jalandhar, Punjab. For rule number 5, we have discussed for like my company is like Creative Media, who's handling overall 3D production and 2D production as like multimedia part which we are teaching. So as like I've preferred this one thing which usually we are missing while we are seeing like lots of employability and numbers, is like for the refreshments and for the like I can say what we going to see, like where are the people's are taking going to refresh their minds, like there are no resting rooms. And especially I'm going to mention like usually we miss our resting rooms or a snap room for a particular time, because whole day we can see we will remain creative, it isn't possible. For time being we need such a room where we can go and time spend our time, so we can like generate ideas. So if I'm seeing like online searching giving me the ideas, it isn't. For like we are just searching those ideas which are already present on the internet. We are not creating any new ideas basically. So for this, would be think like with a good company, a good resting room or a good environment where employee can spend their time, and usually they can discuss, not in the office room as we discussing for project, like just go for the meeting for 10 minutes. And
I got your point. Basically, what you're talking about is from the perspective of an employer, what kind of how to nurture creativity. How to nurture creativity, how to nurture good creative ideas, basically creative thinking, how to nourish that specific mind so that these creative ideas come out.
Yes, even distributing every department with their seniors. Like when I will be starting my company, I will be hiring some CG specialists, having 10 to 15 years of experience. And under there, like as I'm having a 3D department, I will like hire a 3D manager, then the number of employees. And firstly, at the lowest skill, I will be hiring front office or like front desk managers, where they're having a good comm skill. And basically comm skill will be not a barrier for me. Even I've seen like most of the peoples from South, they might not be comfortable in Hindi. And even from Punjab, they are a good artist. So I will hire or it can be a good new department starting where they help to develop communicating skills.
Right.
English or any language must not.
This is a point that we'll be coming to later in the presentation, in the session also.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Sanjay. That was a pretty interesting point that you made there.
Yeah, Mr. Gaurav, this is from room number 3. Can we present?
Yes, sure. Definitely. Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot for allowing this. We don't have a name for our NGO, but we are looking for a community coordinator, social entrepreneurship and livelihood. So some of the skills that, qualification that we discussed was any graduate, basic graduation. Then essential skills are should be able to communicate and write, and should have writing proposals and proficient in formal communication, knows the local language, then should have basic computer literacy and excellent interpersonal skills and leadership qualities. Some of the preferred qualities that we discussed, along with dedication and ability to meet deadlines.
Right.
These were some of the things which we discussed. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Raghav. So that's perfect again. Let's move ahead, and I hope everybody has heard about what different traits people have talked about. So we'll come back to this exactly same thing when we go through the entire session. We'll identify that almost everybody who is looking for a person for employing them in their organization is looking for two kind of skills. So we'll talk about both those type of skills and what are the common ones that everybody is looking for. So we'll be coming to that. So let's again go ahead with the presentation. And so this is, so once this activity was done, now let's talk about how to learn employability skills. Basically, that this is something which cannot be just read out of a book. You have a book and you go through the book, you learn academic subjects, you learn or you gain some knowledge. But when we talk about skills, there is a very clear criteria for skills is that they have to be actionable. Skills are the knowledge which you put in action. So when we talk about learning employability skills, there is a practical aspect to it, and there is a specific way in which you can learn employability skills. Now, when we specifically talk about the training of the trainers, you are going to transfer this knowledge of learning employability skills to your students further. So to make sure that your students are capable enough to learn employability skills. So there are certain things that you need to ensure from a trainer's perspective. Very first thing that we need to understand is it's not just a theoretical understanding of these points which are there, but to make sure that these should become an inherent trait in the candidates or your students so that they are able to have better careers. The very first thing is to understand the mindset. Once you understand your own mindset, then you can actually put certain plan into action, which will evolve you as a person and help you gain a lot of skills which are required for your professional career. And when I say professional career, it doesn't mean that it only helps you in professional career. A lot of these employability skills are basically personal traits which will help you in personal life also. So now let's have a look at this particular chart where you have two different mindsets. When we say that I have a specific mindset, now these are two extreme conditions. One is a mindset which is very positive, and the other one is which has a lot more negative traits. We cannot say that every positive person will have all the positive traits and every negative person is going to have all the negative traits. So when we look at this particular chart here, I hope the screen is visible. Yes. Okay. So the growth mindset or the mindset which will enable you to grow has certain points. The very first is your understanding whether or not you are able to do a specific task. So when we talk about a positive or a growth mindset, the very first thing that comes into the mind is, yes, I can do this, the task which has been assigned to me. When there is a fixed mindset, once your mind is closed and you are very rigid, then generally on all the new tasks which are assigned to you, the answer would be, no, I cannot do this. I'm not used to this. I have not learned this during my training, or I have never done it before in my life. That's one big difference. Second one is about making mistakes. An orthodox or a negative person would usually think that mistakes are not acceptable at all and nobody should be making any kind of mistakes. But with a growth mindset, you have the perception that mistakes are normal, definitely, and you learn from your mistakes. That's again very important. Talking about mistakes and thinking them as big failures is again a reflection of a very fixed mindset which is not ready to change or evolve. Other than that, the rest of the things which are there are very much related to these two basic points. Growth mindset will try again and again until they succeed. They will tend to work hard. They will try to learn new things. And a growth mind which is on the path to grow is always ready to accept the change, because you cannot evolve if you cannot change. Whereas this exactly opposite happens when the mindset is fixed. People are not willing to learn new things. They are not willing to change. They are not willing to try new things. They are not willing to put in extra efforts for working on certain things. If you look at the criticism, the way criticism is handled, usually in a growing mindset or the mindset which is very positive, is happy to accept the criticism and they take it positively to ensure that they evolve. Whereas a fixed mindset is the one which doesn't take criticism very easily. It's very difficult for them to understand that criticism may help you grow. So these are two different mindsets. So first thing is to understand your own mindset, that what are the traits that you have and what are the traits that you are willing to change or what you should change. Once we have a decent understanding of these parameters, what a specific person is willing to change and what they're not willing to change, whether the mind is flexible or whether the mind is fixed, that totally defines how your career will go. If you feel that there are certain problems with the mindset currently in a particular person, then we have to ensure that we try our best to make sure that the mind becomes flexible, they become acceptable towards change. So that would be the very first step to start accepting change. Now let's look at another similar chart and look at these two tables which are there. So these are the kind of activities that can be done with the student. You can create different kind of charts based on different kind of topics which you are training or transferring your knowledge to the student on. Later during the session, we'll go through the entire book which is available of the employability skills. And this is the kind of activity that you can carry out for almost all the units which are there, where it becomes easier for a student to participate because you are giving them options to choose from. For example, in this table, we have these personality traits where a person can actually tick the kind of trait that they have. And this is the very first step, the realization of the problems that they exist, of the issues that these issues actually exist. That realization is the start of the process of correction or the process of improvement. So if you look at these tables which are there, this is the way in which we can start any activity with the student when it comes to employability skills or any kind of skills for that matter, which will start by accepting. The student should start by accepting what are the flaws in the personality or the current traits, and then they can start working on them to evolve them. So if we look at this table, it's very easy to understand. On the left side, there are certain traits which are expected in a person who's willing to grow, such as the person has to be curious. They believe that they can improve themselves. They believe that failures are not ultimate. That means you learn from your failures, you accept challenges and try to do new things. And they get inspired by looking at people who are succeeding. There maybe it's maybe their teammates, their classmates who do things very well. They look at them and then gets inspired, and then they take the feedback also positively so that they understand what are the drawbacks, take the criticism, work on their existing traits and evolve. Whereas on the right side, you can see the table which contains these points. It's basically an indication of the traits which should not be there or negative traits, such as somebody who doesn't take criticism very well, somebody who feels threatened when other people perform very well. So these are the kind of traits which should not be there. Now let's talk about one more thing which is very practical in its today's aspect, is how to learn employability skills online. Because when you are in a physical environment with a student in a classroom, the things are a little different. But when we talk about in this age, internet has become a very important medium of transferring this knowledge. So talking about learning employability skills online, the very first thing we need to understand is why this is required and what is the importance of this particular thing. Now, according to the surveys, if we look at half of the youth in our country is employable, or we can say the other half is not employable. In fact, more than, if you look at the numbers, you will find that most of the people are not employable. And before I move further, I would actually like to clear that it's not because of the trade-based skills or the core skills. Generally, the core skills are there, But then there are certain criteria which are affecting a person as a desirable, that is hindering in the profile becoming desirable for an employer. So that means, and there is another study which says 75% of all the companies surveyed reported that the candidates don't have the skills that the employers need. Now, what happens is, let's say most of us are from media background. So if I take an example of a film, television, or animation, or VFX, any kind of these creative studios, there are different profiles which are there. For example, there may be a profile of a graphics designer. Now, when a graphics designer works in a company or an animator works in a company, their main or the core requirement of the employer is that they should know their skills. If they are working in a specific software, they should know about the software. If they are working with a specific art, maybe color theory, maybe animation principles, or maybe how posing happens, and all those things. These are the technical aspects or the core aspects. So these are not the only desirable skills which are required by an employer. Because if we look at these skills, a lot of youth or a lot of people are already skilled in these, but there are certain areas where they lack. Let's say if you talk about a film studio, because a couple of people discussed about the requirements for a film studio. So a very important thing when it comes to film is, because film is a task which involves a lot of people. So when it comes to teamwork and communication, these are two very, very important traits when it comes to a film production. Because film production is more like a symphony of different skills. So if you have a very good cameraman, you have a very good DOP and very good actors and a director. But if they fail to communicate, the output will be undesirable, totally. You may not like the final product which comes out, but if their communication is very good and they have very good synergy with each other, and even if they slightly lack in their skills, but their product will still be very good. So this is a soft skill which is required in any kind of an organization. Now, when we talk about top 3 things that you want to learn online, is one of these. Let's first talk about what are the benefits. The very first or the important one is you have more resources and more flexibility when you are delivering online. The delivery of the lessons also happens very quickly because you already have these resources. You can have sessions at convenience. Learner engagement also increases because it's easier to do activities and to assign tasks and get a response on the task. Improved recall and retention. That is another benefit of learning online because there are so many tools which are available, which makes learning very easy and which makes a sort of record keeping or keeping a track of what is happening very easy when it comes to learning. And obviously, one of the most important ones is ease of access. I mean, even if somebody is placed in a remote location, very far away from the location of the training which is happening, online learning, which is something that enables this kind of access for those people. Now, exploring post-COVID job market is very important because we all know that things have changed. Even though now we are in a post-COVID era, the things have, most of the places have not gone back to how they used to be. During the pandemic, we faced a lot of challenges, but we also realized great potential in some of the things that we had to do. It actually accelerated certain, you can say, the acceptance of certain evolutions became very fast. People accepted a lot of things. Otherwise, we would still be doing a lot more physical classes than online. But because of the way we had to work for a couple of years, we have actually identified what are the strengths of changing and evolving. And this is very similar to what we just discussed, that if we have an evolving mindset, a mind which is capable of accepting change, then we can work in synchronicity with the changing time. Now, looking at the 21st century employability skills. So when we talk about 21st century, it's the time between 2000 to next 100 years. That is where we are. So we are in the first quarter of the 21st century. Now, the main ways in which people learn differently in this time is very different from what used to happen in the last century or around 20 years back. The learning was more teacher centric, and teacher was the one who was imparting knowledge. Books were some of the tools which were used, and there were hardly any other type of aids which were required for training a student. But how things actually change in 21st century is, the very first thing is that because of technology, new ways of imparting education or the knowledge came out. Let's talk about one very simple tool. Let's say that's a smart board. Our ability to show student videos. Earlier, we used to draw something on a whiteboard and or a blackboard, in fact, and the student would understand through illustrations or diagrams. But now we are able to showcase videos of certain processes. We are able to give audio visual presentations where the learning happens in a little better way. We are also able to give interactive experiences either through AR, VR, and different type of technologies. And thirdly, using online mediums, we have totally overcome the challenge of distances and locality or locations. I mean, even if somebody is at a remote location, whether it's a trainer or a student, they can easily connect and the knowledge transfer can easily happen. Now, one very, very important thing that is still happening and is certain to happen is the role of a teacher change to that of a facilitator. Now, this is something very big, and this is something that all the trainers, all the teachers need to understand. So again, I will recall the fixed mindset and the growing mindset that I talked about. This is a big change for a lot of trainers and a lot of teachers. When we say facilitator, that means the learning has become student centric. So it's not anymore about what is being taught. It is focused on what is being learned by the student. That is how we denote the trainings. Instead of number of training hours, we talk about number of learning hours. In our country, we are accepting it right now. You might be aware of the NCRF which is coming up and so many changes which are coming in the education system. So that totally changes the role of a teacher. So the role of a teacher is more of a facilitator for learning, because the entire or the 100% of the learning is not happening through the teacher. Teacher is a facilitator who will enable the student to learn by providing support in different ways. You could be helping a student out by providing them a lot of different training mediums. You can directly train them. That is now one of the things or one of the parts or one of the duties of the trainer apart from other ones. If you look at the industry in general, so there had been a lot of industrial revolution which has changed how the industries used to work. So currently we are in the fourth industrial revolution, or we can say industry 4.0. It's a pretty common word when we talk about these the kind of industry which is there. So if we talk about how these industrial revolution happened, so in short, we can say that there was a time when steam engines came into place and these different type of machinery which was evolved, especially the milling machines or the cotton mills. So that was called as the first industrial revolution, because before that a lot of material used to be was produced by hand. Almost everything was made out of hand. So mass production was a big challenge. But once machines were introduced, the production became faster, and it was one of the first revolution. And then when electricity was used, mass production of a lot of products was possible, so which was termed as the second industrial revolution. Now, third industrial revolution was enabled when computers were introduced, and different tasks which were performed, they were getting performed by computers. For example, in the banking sector also. So introduction of computer actually increased the speed and accuracy of the task, which further brought about a huge change in the industries. And the fourth one, which we are talking about right now, is where we are using a lot of AI, we are using robots, there are a lot of internet-based jobs, and it's a connected world. Most of the processes in organization, companies, and also across companies are connected. So we are making heavy use of technology. So this is called the fourth industrial revolution. So the students whom we are training are going to get in the industry, which is industry 4.0. So they have to be trained accordingly. Now in industry 4.0, there are certain important criteria that are very different from the other ones, because as we said that new things have evolved. So this employability skills enables a student to cater to industry 4.0. Now, if we look at these skills or tasks which are most relevant, so here is a list. If you look at these particular lists and try to identify what all out of these total listed skills are actually important and must be utilized by the candidates. So let's try to identify which of these skills are required when we talk about industry 4.0. So let's start with typing skills, and let's open the chat for a while, and you can type in whether the skill is important or not. So we'll go through one by one. So you can simply type yes, it's important, and no, that means it's not very relevant. So let's start with the typing skill. So what do you feel? And please do it in the chat so that we can see how participants are responding. So what about typing skills? So we are getting a lot of yes and some no, but mostly yes. We are not getting answers anywhere close to the numbers of participants that we have. Okay, now we have started getting no. Okay, so you still have another 10 seconds to type in your answer. Okay, maybe that's a nice answer. Okay. Okay, see, okay, so let's say that we are getting most of yeses and a couple of no. So let's do one thing. Let's now let's see. Okay, so let's first talk about yes and no. Why somebody is saying yes and why somebody is saying no. So please, I would request you, anybody who's saying no, this is not an important skill. Please discuss in short why you feel that it's not important. So you can switch on your cam or microphone and we can do that. Somebody? Nobody wants to speak up, only chat? Participate. Okay, so you want me to only look at the chats, or okay?
I said yes. I can give you my reason for saying yes.
Yes, yes.
You wanted somebody to speak about no first, so I was also waiting for that answer.
Okay, so anybody who's going in for no, why it's not required?
Sir, can I speak?
Yes, sure. Please go ahead.
Sir, it's not a straightway no. It is, in my experience, it is not, extreme importance. Now there are tools like from speech to text. So these tools are available, and
right.
So this is my reason why it is not of extreme. It is important though, not of extreme importance. That's my take.
Okay, so anybody who's saying yes and it's very important, yes, please, Dr. Amar.
Yeah, basically it's very important. Why I'm saying so is that whenever students complete their BJMC, MJMC, they go for TV channel jobs. And you must be seeing that in the news production particularly, we have a scroll going on. So if you look at the vernacular language scrolls, you would see lots of typo mistakes happening. Because we still have got English type correction possible, but in Hindi typing, lots of mistakes happen. In vernacular language, Punjabi or other languages, I have seen typo mistakes happening. And I realize that our students who are familiar with typing or have a decent, reasonable typing speed, channels are also more inclined to employ them, at least in the newsroom, for creating the calls or the graphic work. So for that reason, I feel if they know typing, rather touch typing, they are far more efficient than the other people. But of course, I agree with Aarti ma'am when she says it is compulsorily not needed, but I would prefer my students to have the skill.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Now let's move on to another one, which is critical thinking and problem solving. So please type in the chat yes or no whether critical thinking and problem solving is a very relevant Industry 4.0 skill. So till now we are seeing yeses. Yes, big yes. Yes. Of course. Yeses. Anybody who wants to say no to that particular skill, critical thinking and problem solving? All yeses. Okay, now let's talk about one more because I wanted to take 3 of this, not the entire list. The third one here is needlework and weaving. Needlework, you understand that using a needle and a thread, and weaving. How relevant needlework and weaving is for Industry 4.0? Yes or no? Right, very good answers. Mostly no, but we understand that. When it comes to industry, so we have got only 5 answers and mostly no's. Okay, so now let's talk about why I chose only these 3 specific skills. Because see, when we talk about certain skills, there are 2 categories that's what we talked about. There is a core and a generic skill, or you can see a hard skill and a soft skill, or maybe the one which is required to do specific tasks. For example, if there is a task of typing something on the computer, then it becomes a primary skill and you require it, no matter it's Industry 4.0, 3.0, or whichever. But if there is a skill which is required as a support skill, that may become obsolete depending on what kind of environment we work in. For example, I think everybody has heard of ChatGPT, I guess. Can you please type in yes or no? ChatGPT. Okay, now we are getting yeses. Acha, interesting चीज की बात करते you get a lot of yeses. So we can do it this way also. Okay, now let's have a small discussion on, because this is one thing which is either threatening a lot of people or it is helping a lot of people. I mean, people generally have very opposite views about when it comes to AI. Yeah, it's an AI chatbot. Now, when we talk about, because you are all trainers and you will be training candidates, you might be giving them some assignments or something. So there is always a perception that the student should write whatever the ideas are there, whatever they should write, they should think and then they should write. And as a trainer, we want a student to think of the points and to write in their own words. It's a very common phrase that write it in your own words, or write in your words how you feel about a particular thing or whatever the answer is. But now once this kind of AI chatbot comes in, there is a sort of a fear, or people are a little skeptical about this, that the student can directly go to ChatGPT, put the question, get the answer and show it to you. So let's have a small discussion on what and how we should actually cope up with that, because that is something which is not going away anyway. So let's open the mics, and anybody who wants to actually talk about that, we can have a small discussion. Yes, Dr. Aman, please go ahead.
Just one point, because I tried it. What I realized was that if you have application-based question, then the AI gets confused.
Can you give an example?
For example, suppose like we say, I'll give you an example of editing. right? So this, what is dissolve? If I want to Google, it will tell me what is dissolve. Even Google tell me, ChatGPT also answers. But if I say that, okay, like I create a case study and it says in this purpose, I would will using a dissolve be a better option? Then ChatGPT is not there to answer. So when we are making our question papers also, if we make them more application based, students really have to think. Even if they use GPT or open book for purpose of identifying the terminology we are asking about, but still they will have to understand it to answer the question.
Excellent. You put it in an excellent way. Now I want somebody to go against anybody who feels that this should not be used in education. I mean, people should be kept away from it, at least while they are learning, and they should not be using ChatGPT for creating any kind of answers. Anybody who's on that? So total silence. So that so we can say that all of us agree, I guess, that it is going to be a part of the ecosystem. So let's start using it. Now, there is another very important thing is when we talk about these employability skills, and there are certain components that we will be having a look at. Once we open the book, go through the content, then we'll be having a look at certain topics. So this is just one of the disruption that has happened. Or maybe I won't call it disruption because somebody would have already predicted that these kind of technologies would come. But certainly we are not never sure that when these kind of technologies would come in. If you talk about other disruptions which is happening, another disruption that everybody knows about is TikTok, right? So can you put it in the chat box if you know about TikTok? I'm not saying you're using it, you just know about it, okay? So there are people who know about TikTok. Now, nobody before it actually came out, I'll give you a pretty interesting story about that. When this thing came out, people were a little skeptical about how a 10 seconds video, a platform which only has around 10 seconds or 30 seconds of video, can be a competitor for anybody. Because when we used to talk about videos or any kind of content, people would want that, I want to watch a long video. What would I get in 10 seconds or something? But now today, everybody knows. Even YouTube has come out with shorts, Instagram has got reels, and there are thousands of platforms which are using the same format. Now, what happens is when the industry is disrupted, when you talk about films, so we used to go to theaters to watch films. Then there was somebody like Netflix who was trying to get people into watching films in their home. But what happened during pandemic is it accelerated that process. So everybody had no other option. So they went on to OTT, and then now people are hooked on to OTT. So our system has changed. So even what happens is the production environment also changes. The concept will remain the same, but things will change in certain ways. For example, some kind of professional etiquettes have changed since the introduction of remote working. Now, when you are working remotely, there are certain new kind of etiquettes which have been developed. Like when you go to an office, there are certain office etiquettes that you follow. There is a way you maintain office decorum. But when it comes to online meetings, there were no very specific rules or etiquettes for that. But they were gradually evolved because remote working became very popular during that pandemic phase and still continues to be. So the students who are going out in the industry, they should be able to evolve because we cannot foresee what kind of changes are coming to the industry. We certainly can see what has happened as of today, what are the changes which have happened, but going forward, new kind of changes that may come. And what we foresee is there are a lot of changes which are expected because of artificial intelligence, machine learning. Let's say if we talk about, let's take an example of editing, for example. So there was a time when certain kind of transitions in the video frames were done by hand. And even before that, there was a time when certain kind of effects or sort of a lens flare was considered to be a flaw in the optical system, but today we use it as an effect. Even when the lens flare is not there, we add it as an effect because of certain requirements. We add or introduce a lot of film noise in video so that it appears as if it has been shot on a film, just to get that kind of a look. So the way industry evolves has got two parts. One is what we can foresee, we understand, and the other one is disruption. So it's our sort of responsibility, I can say, to ensure that the candidates whom we are training, the people who are going into the job market, are able to handle both the ones which we foresee, such as AI, machine learning. So we need to make sure that whatever we see today, let's say I understand that there'll be certain tasks which will be automated by AI. So the candidate whom we are training should understand that once these jobs are automated, then what are you going to do? Because this is a very basic principle of AI. AI cannot do anything new. AI can only do what a human has done before. But only a human can do what no human has done before. That's one very big difference between an AI and a human. So this innovation, creative thinking ability, and critical thinking ability are the ones which are very important in this today's environment. Now let's go ahead with our presentation again, and let's look at some more things which are still there. Okay, now we have talked about these skills which are there. Now let's also talk about technical skills, which are hard skills, and soft skills. So you can either call it hard skills or soft skills, or you can call it the core skills or the generic skills, no matter what kind of nomenclature you want to use. But both these kind of skills are very important for a candidate to succeed in the career. Now, if we talk about this hard skills, which are basically could be one of these for a specific job. If there is a carpenter, he's building a cabinet, he should know how to operate the equipment. If there is a computer programmer, they should know how to write a code. If there is a researcher, they should understand how to investigate a scientific question. And for salesmen, they should understand how to sell products. If it's a writer, then they should know how to write an article. So basically, these are core or the hard skills which are required in an individual. And sadly, this is what the common perspective is. And that is why we had this issue which we discussed earlier, that most of the youth in our country, half of the youth, is not suitable for a job or unemployable. And that is how the employers also have challenges in identifying the candidates. Now, if you look at the soft skills, these are also a very important part, which is in any kind of an organization, you want the employee to work or participate as a team member. When you're working in a team, it's very important that you don't create islands, you don't isolate yourself, you work as a team member. Keeping yourself motivated, because it's not necessary that every time there'll be a motivational coach in your organization who's going to motivate the employees. You are also looking for self-motivation in your employees as a trait. Communication, obviously, it's very important. Critical thinking, ability to learn very quickly, positive thinking, and punctuality and maintaining decorum of the organization. Now, these are some of the soft skills which are very important. Now, there is a huge list. If I go and start making a list of the requirements of soft skills, it is going to be huge. But if we put it into some sort of a wheel, this is what we have here. We have these different type of smartnesses in a wheel of life. I just want you to actually have a look at that. There is something called a body kinesthetic, then people smart or people skills, then there is self smart or your interpersonal skills, then you have visual perceptions and visual spatial abilities, where you are able to visualize a lot of things, whether it's simple plain visuals or it's 3D spaces. You understand sound and music, you have abilities related to nature, and then logical abilities and your linguistic abilities. So these are all different type of smartnesses or different type of skills which become a part of life for any individual. Now for this, I will suggest a couple of activities. I'll just list out the activities that can be very easily tried. So this is one activity that should be conducted with the candidates while the employability skills training is going on. You ask them to make a list of their hard and soft skills. And depending on what kind of courses you are delivering, if you are into films, then ask them to create a list of skills which are required for that profession. Somebody is training for a director, Ask him what are the skills that is core or hard, or as well as the generic or the soft skills which are required. Ask them to make a complete list. Gradually, you will identify that the number of soft skills required sometimes exceeds the number of hard skills which is required in most of the cases. Even if it's an editor, a graphics designer, or any kind of, as the level progresses, means I'm talking about the NSQF levels or the difficulty level or a experience in the career. As it increases, it demands more and more soft skills. Generally, a professional with around 10 years of experience will have better soft skills, but the demand or the requirement of soft skill also increases. So all the professionals throughout their career, they keep gaining a lot of soft skills. They should also strive to get upgraded in their core skills or the hard skills. But soft skill is something that cannot be neglected at all. Other one is to identify gaps in the skill set. So when there are candidates for evolution or evolving or further growth, the candidate should be able to identify what are the gaps in the skill set, which enables them to actually understand. So it is a sort of self-criticism, which is going to help a candidate in evolving their own skills. Another activity would be to discuss the resources from where they can fulfill this gap. So these are connected activities. So if we have a list of hard and soft skills, then we identify that what are the skills which are required, so you understand what are the gaps. Once a candidate identifies the gap, then they themselves can try to identify how they want to fill in this gap. If they are not able to do so, or then it is recommended, then you should go ahead and help the candidate in identifying resources, because there are a lot of soft skills, such as if somebody is weak with communications or discussions, then the resource would be to have a good group discussion. So we can have more group discussion activities where they can improve on their. Okay. Then let's move to understanding yourself. Then you encourage the candidates or the students to understand their own strengths, weaknesses, and what are their thoughts and beliefs, what motivates them, what are their values, and what are their aspirations. That aspirations being the last one was pretty important one. Once people understand all these things about themselves, because we are looking at the personal side of the employability skills, they can work on improving their own personality, their own personal inherent traits. So it enables them to work with people or work with organization as a team player, as a person who's desirable in an environment. Now, there is a difference between the ability or an interest. Ability is something that you are good at. Activity is something that you enjoy, or interest is an activity that you enjoy that makes you happy. And when we make a list of the abilities, we need to ensure that the candidate is not talking about the interest, but about the actual abilities that they possess, so that they can actually work on those activities. This is the kind of table that they can work on. Create a simple table, identify the strengths, identify the weaknesses, and how to overcome the weaknesses. This particular exercise will help build their personal traits based on the previous activities that have been done. What are the skills which are missing? Mostly the generic skills can be developed by creating these sort of charts. So I'll share all these documents after the training, so you can go through them, or later you can actually put it across to the candidates that you are training. Now, this is another activity which requires a little bit of writing, but that this particular activity can be modified to form sort of a short video. Using a mobile phone, they can shoot a video. Basically, it's about either use a photograph, show how you imagine your life to be, so that you can actually work towards the aspiration. As I said in one of the previous slides, that aspiration is very important, which will motivate. A lot of time aspirations are great motivation for the people. Once they know what their aspirations are and they are constantly reminded of their aspirations, they are able to motivate themselves and then get into, because a lot of uh, hard work is required when you want to get rid of your strength, when you want to get rid of the identified weakness which is there, to convert either weakness into strength or to completely get rid of the weaknesses so that you become a better person or a better professional. So these are some of the activities that can be done with the candidates. Now, let's have a small discussion. Then we move on to the employability manual, which is there. And then we'll talk about what is the content and how to deliver the content. And we'll understand what the concept is behind the employability skills, how the course is designed, and how the delivery needs to happen. So before we start with that, let's again do a small activity. We have these skills that we talked about earlier. So we will actually take 3 of these skills. You can take either a screenshot of the skills or you can list it down. And then we'll break out into different rooms and then we'll have a discussion on which of these 5 skills is required and which required in the sense it's very relevant. I'm not talking about maybe kind of skills. I'm talking about the most relevant skills, which are very important, and also the skills which are not important. For example, if you talk about one of the typing skills, so we had most of the positive answers, but we are not looking for the skills which are maybe. Because if we say physical strength may be required in a specific job, but it's not mandatory for everyone. So what we are talking about in this activity is to identify the skills which are most relevant for almost everyone. We can frame it in this way as a generic skill so that the person becomes employable. So I hope you have taken a note of the skills which are mentioned, or you have taken a screenshot. And then let's go into the breakout room. So this would take around 10 minutes. And once we are back, we'll move on to the second part of the session.
Is it the present?
Maithili, I think we are still being assigned the room.
Good morning, group. Hi, Gautam. My view is blacksmithing is not new and problems are in everyone. Anyone active in this group? Hello? Anyone active in this group? Mr. Kaudri? Hello? Anyone active in this group? Data ma'am. मेरा 3 सब्जेक्ट है 3 सब्जेक्ट है जीरो क्लियर पेंडिंग है थोड़ा देखे लिखने का अभी इसी पर ये सब लोग दे दिया मेरा सिल्वर पूरा पेंडिंग है कल देती हूँ ना मेरा निकाल चुका सब जितने बच्चे फिर मुझे DMS का पैकेज मैडम 2-3 मुझे क्या पता ये 2 दिन से दे रहा है बता that madam मैं तो 2 बजे से देता है
Yes, I hope everybody is back from the breakout rooms and we can continue to discuss the same activity. So let's start with room number 1.
Hello, sir. This is Chetas Desai from Jagran Lake City University. I was in room number 1. And one of the things that we discussed was that regardless of what profession today we are in, one thing that we somehow tend to underestimate a lot, but is very important, is physical strength, because almost all professions today, whether it is a sitting job or a physical job, requires a certain physical strength. And somehow we do tend to underestimate that. Other than that, the factors that we discussed about were skills like communication skills, digital fluency, basic computer abilities, time management and teamwork and collaboration. These are the skills that are relevant universally across all professions.
Okay. Any of those which you feel is the most important? Out of all these, the most important one that you feel that has to be there?
Time management.
Time management. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Now let's move to room number 2.
Sir, this is Aarti from room number 2.
Ji.
So we have listed the important skills, the 5 you told us to. We have teamwork and collaboration on number 1. Then we have time management skills, communication skills, critical thinking, and basic computer skills. So these are the most important generic skills one must have in any profession. Then the other 5 which you told to shortlist for are not that important or unimportant because these are specific to certain trades. So like wood cutting, needlework, these are important for the people who are working in that line, but not for all.
Not for all.
Blacksmith or computer programming or physical strength, I would say the last speaker told about every person should be strong enough. So that is from the health perspective. Should be
fitness. You meant to say
yes,
that
is fitness
should be there? Right,
yes, this is physical strength. So that is, I guess,
physical fitness should be there. Yes. Okay, that's totally
fitness should be there. That is the point he was making, I guess. So these are the 5 not so important skills. Hardware is also there.
Okay, so, and the one which you've identified the most, that is something that is most important, and can you a little elaborate on that, why that is very important?
So teamwork and collaboration, as our team has discussed, is the most important skill because we cannot work in isolation. So working online or offline, we always work in teams, and we have a good team and they understand each other, they collaborate and they communicate well. Then obviously, if they face certain difficulties or some obstacles or hurdles, then we can overcome with the help because different people, they have different strengths. So if they complement each other, that will be easy to sort out the issues we face.
Okay, great.
I guess I made my point. Yes.
Thank you. Now, from room number 3.
Sir, my name is Aman. I am from room number 3. What we discussed was it was very difficult. We had boiled down to 7 key skill sets that we were looking at. But then finally, we have made a list of 5 key skill sets. First one is the basic computer skill that the person should have. Then creative thinking is something which we are looking at in an individual. Then critical thinking and problem solving is the 3rd skill we are looking at. Communication skill is the 4th skill we are advocating for. And the 5th is teamwork and collaboration. So the 2 other skills which we wanted to include in our list, but finally we have left out, are the time management skill, because that is also crucially important. And of course, the entrepreneur skill, particularly with respect to the media work, person should have little tuning of that. But when you say out of this 5, which one we would say is the most important, then I think critical thinking and problem solving gets that vote majorly because whatever issues we have, if we could break that out in a very logical problem-solving attitude, with the problem-solving attitude in small bits of information so that we can solve each bit in order to make sure that the problem is resolved. And of course, the other skills would obviously help us, the team, to stay together and achieve the targets repeatedly.
Right. So, I mean, just a small question that the top skill which you have mentioned means if we talk about the couple of skills, because now this is the third room, we still have 2 more rooms to go. So before we go to these 2 rooms, if you talk about top 5 skills, more or less, some of the skills are common, which all 3 have mentioned, but the sequence in which they are arranged is a little different. So that is something to be noted. We'll come back to this point again. Now let's move to room number 4. Is there anybody from room number 4 who would like to share something? Okay, then let's move to room number 5.
This is Maple Garrison.
Room number 5. This is
Yes.
Hello. Room number 5. Hello, room number 5. Maple.
Yes, from room number 5.
Yes, Maple is here, sir. Room number 5.
Okay, I've got your chat. I got your chat. I'll speak on your behalf. Let's go ahead with room number 5 first.
Okay, so this is Dr. Bodkodi, and we have listed 5 skills, basically self-learning, communication skills, critical skills, problem solving, and time management. Of all the 5, self-learning is the most important thing that we have listed. Because any task we are given, so whatever we learn and come, we may have to upskill ourselves. So we must be open for learning new things. So therefore, self-learning is one important, aspect that we keep. Anyway, regarding team building, team work, etc. Because when we have a problem-solving attitude and when we have critical thinking, I think that is taken care of. So we want people to meet deadlines and then have critical skills and problem solving, plus proper communication skills. So there are no issues related to miscommunication or problem arising from communication related problems. And self-learning should be something which is more driving. The least important skills that we thought, say, it all depends on what kinds of profession we are in. So like, for instance, wood cutting may be very important for someone who is in carpentry, but not be important for someone who is in animation. So likewise, needle and thread work or typing, etc. It all depends on what is the role that they are playing and whether they are significant for that profession or not.
Perfectly all right. Perfectly fine. Thank you. And now let's talk about the room number 4. Room number 4 has listed these topmost 5 ones. The number 1 is communication skills. Second is teamwork and collaboration. Third one is creative thinking. And the 4th one is time management skill. And finally, on number 5, we have critical thinking. So now let's sum it up. What we all 5 rooms, we have identified some of the skills. So we see that some of the skills that we have identified are almost the same. If you look at the bunch, these skills are almost same for everyone. Only thing is that either 1 or 2 skills have been changed from room to room, or the sequence has been changed. Now let's do something very interesting. Now let's try to put this activity, whatever we have discussed. You all have your points which you have discussed. Now let's put this into a story. And the story is there is a patient, or let's say you imagine yourself. You are on an operation theater table and there is a team of surgeons who is going to operate on you. Now, this becomes a very serious task because it's now a matter of life and death when a group of surgeons is performing surgery on somebody. Now, these are new age surgeons who are using the latest technology and the latest equipment, and we are talking about 21st century. Now, let's put that into perspective and then talk about the skills which are there. Let's talk about these communication skills, teamwork, collaboration, creative thinking, and so on, what all skills are there. Now, from that perspective, if I talk about these things, so let's keep your mics open if you want to talk on that. What is the main, out of these, which we were discussing, out of these, which is the most important ability or the trait that is required for that entire team of surgeons who's operating on a person?
I think I'll call critical thinking and problem solving.
Okay.
So teamwork, of course. We have also kept teamwork at the top.
I think I would go for that teamwork and collaboration.
One. Teamwork and collaboration. Okay. And?
Critical thinking and problem solving. It will have all the possibilities, logical reasoning, self-learning skill, entrepreneurship skill, communication skill, plus physical skill.
Okay, so teamwork, critical thinking, communication skills.
So teamwork again, teamwork.
Critical thinking and problem solving. Am I audible?
Okay, now let's change the scenario. Let's change this scenario. We have got the answers for this particular thing. Let's change the scenario completely different. Now let's talk about, we are talking about a furniture factory. It's a factory where different kind of furnitures are made, let's say sofa. So we are inside a factory which is making sofa, and there is a team which is doing the woodwork, not the upholstery, but which is making the framework of that sofa. And now take this entire list and now put this thing in perspective, that we are talking about somebody who's creating a piece of furniture. That's also a team. Somebody is actually cutting the wood, finishing it, somebody is assembling the wood and then fixing it to create framework and all that. So now when we talk about this particular team of carpenters who are involved in creating a piece of furniture, now what would be the topmost, not talking about 5, only the topmost required ability out of these?
I think teamwork and collaboration.
Teamwork and collaboration, and in critical thinking and problem solving.
Okay.
First, we want to plan with the materials how to do, and then we want to assign to the groups which part they are doing, and time we want to plan. Any problem raised should be clear. So critical thinking and problem solving.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much, sir. So whatever the scenario be, whatever changes in scenario you give, I think basically when people's belief system does not change, that self-learning does not take place, then no new changes can come, sir. I think so. Whatever the scenario be, I think the starting point of everything is change in belief system and change in self-learning, change in initiation that will bring about a whole bunch of changes added on to it, sir.
Right. So it's a pretty nice discussion, and I'm loving it. See, the main idea behind putting these two different scenarios and these things is, when you think of a task, there are so many traits. When it comes to soft skills, there are so many traits. We can say that this particular trait is not required. There are certain traits that we understand are not required in today's age. So if I talk about newspaper, maybe I don't need a newspaper to understand or to get some news, because I can maybe use internet. If I have a phone, I can use internet. So maybe the importance of newspaper might have gone down for me when I live in an urban environment. But still, when we look at a area where maybe internet has not penetrated that much, people are still hooked on to newspapers. They take a little time to change. Same way, what happens is, when we talk about when we talk about industry 4.0, there are different markets and different verticals. And the people whom we are training, the candidates we are training, will be going into different roles. Now, once these candidates are going into different roles, we cannot ensure that a particular trait will be required forever, because as we said, the industry is ever evolving. There are disruptions in the market. There are disruption in technology also. So there are again two aspects. One is what we foresee as the future in technology and the way industry is going to progress. The other one is disruption. So the important concept is, as trainers, because this entire session is oriented for trainers, this is what we are all working towards, is to ensure that a trainer identifies. That's the objective of a trainer. When we, in the beginning, if you remember, I said the trainer is going to be a facilitator. So as a facilitator, you need to identify what are the requirements of that specific candidate, maybe of that specific batch, because maybe you may be dealing with a batch which is getting trained in a particular trade or a qualification pack or a specific for a specific industry or for a specific job role. To understand about the job role, to understand how the industry is moving, in which direction the industry or that particular job role is moving. Simple example would be if I talk about somebody who's creating online content or somebody who's a writer. So now I know that there are a lot of AI tools available which can actually replace a writer. That is what the general perception is. But it is not going to happen. There was a time, if you talk about animation, there was a time when motion capture started and people used to get scared that motion capture is going to replace all the animators. Animators will not be required anymore. But it doesn't happen that way. Motion capture do help in increasing the quality, but the animator is now able to do better work because those resources or motion capture is assisting the animator. Same way, if you talk about writer, these AI tools and all these copywriting tools which are there, AI driven and all that, they are going to assist the writer. So we have to enable the candidate to evolve based on that. So we can only train a candidate based on what we foresee. But to understand all that, why this discussion was taking place is to understand that there has been a deep research into how the industry is going to evolve, including the foreseeable as well as the disruptive future that may or may not happen. But still, we assume that it might happen someday. So there has been a detailed research based on which a new curriculum or a new module of employability skills has been created. So now this is what we are going to look at, because earlier there used to be a lot of people were skeptical about that. We are giving so much emphasis on soft skills and why is that and why is it needed for everyone and all that. So when we talk about employability skills, we are going to look at the manual in just a few minutes. That manual has got different type of chapters. We may or may not feel that some of the chapters are required, some of the chapters are not required. But the idea behind that is, after a deep research, a curriculum has been devised in which all the skills which are required by an individual, all the soft skills or the employability skills which are required by a candidate or a person who's entering into Industry 4.0 are mentioned. It contains soft skills. Now, why I'm putting so much emphasis is that till now we had been talking about personal traits, personal strengths, weaknesses, how a person thinks, basically about an individual. But that's not the only criteria. That personality trait is not the only employability skills. We also talked about certain things like being digitally literate or being able to use computers or digital tools. Maybe there is a person who doesn't need to understand how to use spreadsheets to do calculations. But if they know a little bit of Excel or any kind of spreadsheet software, it might help them either in their own profession career or in the organization in which they are working. Let's say as teachers, our main objective or the quality required is transfer of knowledge, but we also have to maintain some sort of records, maybe a rubrics of the evaluation that we are doing for the candidates, or maybe we are maintaining the attendance record. So somewhere we need to use some kind of a database or a spreadsheet where we maintain that. So that becomes a soft skill. To make a lesson plan, that is our core skill. As a trainer, we should know that if we are going to deliver a particular topic, there has to be a lesson plan. So we know how to make a lesson plan, but how to effectively make a lesson plan where you consume less time. Maybe you take help of a lot of AI tools which are available, where you want to summarize a chapter. I'll give you a very interesting example, which I basically somebody told me about. So there are these huge books which are there, and sometimes you have to summarize these books. So there are different ways in which you can very easily convert these books into summaries without spending your own time. As a teacher, I know that I have a decent understanding, let's say, of filmmaking, of animation, of actor or something. But I want to create a small presentation for the candidate. So I need to summarize a lot of content. Now I know that I am able to do that, but I need an assistant. So if I know how to use that AI, I will be able to generate a quick summary But being a teacher, I will be able to analyze whether it is correct or not. Because as we already discussed previously in the session itself, that it's not necessary that content will be correct. So now instead of becoming a writer who's writing from scratch, I actually become a reviewer or an editor. Once I get the content, if I feel it is okay, if I want to write 1 or 2 sentences, if I want to change a couple of sentences, I do that, and then I have my summary, which I can utilize for training. So what happens as a trainer, it saves a lot of time. It's a lot of time which I can utilize otherwise. Maybe I can create new and better lesson plans. Why do spend my time on the activities which can be easily or quickly done by somebody? So this was an example of a trainer. Similarly, maybe there is an animator who's doing a repetitive task, or a graphics designer who's doing a repetitive task. Let's say once AI comes out, from a graphics designer perspective, maybe I want to visualize a design in different color schemes. So there are certain tools which are available, maybe in the software itself or maybe otherwise, where I'm quickly able to analyze and understand which kind of color scheme will work with what kind of project. So to understand that, it is also part of my core skills, but it is also one of the future skills, or that is something that will help me. Other than that, if I'm a graphics designer who interacts with the clients, a lot of clients, then I have to have very good communication skills. If I'm a graphics designer who works in the team, I may not interact with the client. So maybe my communication skills are not very important, but my team skills or the ability to work in the team and to deliver on time, because a lot of the project depends on how the artist is delivering the content to the team lead, and then it goes to the supervisor for review. So that in different roles, different traits become important. So after consolidating all the things which are there, somebody has come out with this beautiful module called employability skills, and that is what we are going to look at now. So let's have a look at the document itself. So now this is a handbook or a student workbook for employability skills. Now, before we go any further, let me just talk about what this thing is and how it needs to be delivered. Now, it is going to be a part of each and every qualification pack that will be delivered to the student. So whenever you are delivering any kind of content to your student, employability skills will be a part of that qualification pack. Now, the duration of employability skills can vary. It can vary from 30 hours to 120 hours based on what level that program is, what's the duration. So the duration of employability skills will vary. Now, if you look at all the skill modules, employability skill modules or the ES skill modules, you will find there are minor differences other than the duration of the module. So depending on that, you can actually have a look at the workbook and make a lesson plan how you are going to deliver it to the student. I am considering this 90-hour workbook as a standard because that's an average between 60, 90, 120 and so on. So this particular workbook has basically all the topics which are to be discussed. Now let's directly move on to the index and let's understand what are the modules which are covered in this particular book. So the very first module is I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, yes, so the very first module is the introduction to employability skills itself. It's a very short module where we introduce the candidate to the employability skills, where we talk about the importance and how to learn employability skills online. The next one is also a small module, but it's of very high importance according to me, because when we talk about Skill India initiative, there are two words. Skill and India. So we need to talk about our constitutional values. Let me directly take you to this chapter and let's look at the kind of content. And it's very easy to deliver and you'll find it very interesting. This is something that we should all understand. Basically talking about this one, it's a very, very small chapter. So it's basically about our guiding principles. So the candidate understand. Now this is more of a revision for a candidate because they have gone through these things in school, but definitely what happens is by the time we pass out of school, we tend to forget all that. But the idea behind this is to talk about certain things, talk about because these things actually also relate to the ethical and moral character of a person also. It's a pretty deeply connected part. So please ensure that you are taking the candidate through this particular module. Then obviously after that, we also have the values and ethics in itself. Let me take you back. I'm just scrolling through the index. It might be a little confusing, but let's stay here. So once that is done, then we start by the basic skills. So first thing that we talk about is becoming a professional in the 21st century, which talks about their values and ethics. Also talks about protecting the environment, because there are a lot of consideration in the industry. When we talk about industry 4.0, there is another important responsibility as an industry, as an employer, as an employee, as a part of the entire system to protect the environment. That is also covered in this particular module. And then time management in the workplace, which is again pretty important. During our activities that we had, small discussions that we have come to realize that time management has got its own importance. Maybe at some places it is at number 1, maybe at some places it is number 5 or 6 or 7. But time management has got its own importance that needs to be formally talked about in a class, because that is something which is very of a big concern for a lot of employers when it comes to time management. Moving ahead, once the time management is done, the second one is about language. So basic English skills, where the candidate is motivated to learn the language, because we are a big country. We have so many languages, so many different places in our country where we have the languages. Just say if I talk about Hindi and Punjabi, we'll find that there is a lot of similarities. Maybe some people can understand other languages, but if we talk about very different parts of the country, it's very difficult for people to interact until there is a common language. And we have seen, for all practical purposes, English works. So a basic understanding of English. We are not teaching somebody complete English communication in 15 hours. We are talking about how to use basic English skills. So if I take you to the chapter here, you will see that these are very, very basic things. For example, action words. Another one, if you go there, you can talk about how to use action words correctly. Now, it may look like a class 5th or 6th student manual, but it is not that. As I said, it's based on very deep research. So this is something that a student needs to be refreshed through. Not all the candidates that we are training come from a very strong English background, but it is required in a lot of places. So this entire module, which is a pretty big module, out of 90, 15 hours, that's basic English skills. So when we say English, we are not saying communication, we are saying the language English. The next module is about communication skills. And this is another important module. It's around 10 hours duration in that 90-hour program. So it is talking about communication, the importance of communication, and all sort of communication. When it comes to verbal, it's about speaking and writing. When it is non-verbal, it's about body language, expressions, what is effective communication, what is workplace communication. So if I take you to this particular module here, okay, so it has got a lot of important modules. Now, this is what we talked about earlier when we talked about some people are not able to handle criticism. They take it negatively, whereas the other people, they take criticism very positively and then they evolve. So these are the kind of small tips, or you can say small guidelines for the candidates that will help them overcome in case they have the kind of a negative response. It helps in developing a positive response to criticism. So when we practically talk about these points, means how to focus, how to accept the criticism, what is constructive criticism, then they get a decent understanding. They learn how to deal with criticism if they are not able to do so already. So these are also pretty interesting and important modules which are to be covered with the communication itself. Then moving ahead, digital skills. there are a lot of digital skills, as we said, because since we are in new age, almost everybody is making use of computers or other devices, digital devices for any kind of work. Maybe you are a writer, you are not using a typewriter anymore, you are using some sort of Word or something if you are doing documentation work. So it's not simply typing, but having a decent understanding of the applications which are there, how to use the hardware which is given to you, how to store files, how to transfer files, how to search for something. So if you look at the modules like how to use search engines as well as how to search for the right information online. It also includes modules for social media and internet safety, because as the use of internet is increasing, it is penetrating our life much deeper. So in that case, we also need to be concerned about internet safety, because when you are working in an organization or whether it is your personal data, it should be safe. So it's about basically what are the safe practices. Then talking about communication through emails, using mobile applications, online meeting tools, because that has become a part of our everyday work life. Even for personal chats, we use a lot of video calls nowadays. But for professionals, it's very important to understand how to use online meeting tools, be it for interviews, be it for regular work. But to start with, they have to deal with the interviews. And nowadays, you will find a lot of interviews are happening online. So they are also trained in how to use these online meeting tools when you are going for an interview. Because once you are into a job, then there might be some internal training or the company might be using some other sort of platform or something. But this is also a very important part of digital literacy or understanding digital skills. The next one is about diversity and inclusion. Basically, it is about sensitizing an individual to empathize with others, to empathize with all genders, the entire diversity. So it's a pretty interesting chapter. If you read it, you will, means this is a good read. In fact, this entire book itself is a pretty good read. You can, once you start reading it, you would love the book, how it has been designed, and the way you deliver it completely depends on you. As I suggested earlier, you do a lot of activities because these are some practical knowledge, basically skills, not just knowledge. So it has to be used practically through the use of activities to enforce this particular knowledge, so that it becomes an ability rather than just being knowledge. Then another very interesting module is the financial and legal literacy, which is missing in most of the candidates who are going for interviews nowadays. So money management, how banking works, because you might also come across, if you meet a lot of freshers, that when somebody is drawing their first salary, sometimes it's the first time they are using the banking system and they are not aware of how things are done, how even how the banking system works and what is a savings account, what's a current account, and those kind of things. Then also about online banking and digital transactions. Then there is an interesting read on savings also, and also legal literacy, where a candidate is basically told about how how the legal system works, what are the considerations as a professional, because now you are entering your professional life. So as a professional, what are the basic, very basic legal considerations or understandings that you should have? After that, another big module and of very high importance, especially in our sector, because our sector has got, I think, the biggest number of entrepreneurs. In fact, everybody in any of the job roles can become an entrepreneurship. For most of the job roles, I would say that, whether it's films or TV or advertising, there are so many opportunities to start your own work and give employment to others. But the problem people generally face is they're not properly trained in all aspects of entrepreneurship. Even if they jump into this scene, they're not able to manage, because there are so many criteria, so many aspects that they have never thought about. They just feel that I know this works, so maybe I can work out a business, but it doesn't work that way. So it's a formal training into entrepreneurship, where a candidate is trained what this thing is all about, what kind of mindset that you need to have, what are the basic differences between self-employment and entrepreneurship. Usually what happens is every other person feels that self-employment equals to entrepreneurship. So understanding the difference between self-employment or freelancing entrepreneurship. What are the differences? That is also covered in this particular module. A scan of the market, where markets, how they work, how they function, understanding the customer requirements, and then what kind of a business can be run, whether you are offering a product or a service. How to finalize a business idea, how to build a business plan. Now, this is the kind of information that is very important for the candidates for specific job roles. Now, when we talk about this entire system of employability skills, there are two very important things that we discussed, that employability skills are required by everyone. And the second one is the importance of individual skill can vary. This we discussed in one of the activities. So again, there will be certain job roles where this particular module is going to be very, very important from different aspects, maybe from a job role aspect, or from the locality or the you can say the region in which the candidate is present. There are a lot more employment opportunities in certain areas. Maybe in big cities, there are a lot of employment opportunities. So a candidate can go into this particular mode where he's getting a job. In some other areas, they can stay at their home locations and then they start a business. So based on that, it may or may not have very high importance, but it will at least have some importance. Other than that, a bit about marketing also is considered, and then accounting and funding, which is generally supposed to be an accounts job, but when you're starting a business, you need to understand how you carry out these activities also. So a basic understanding of accounting, what accounting is all about, how the funding happens, and also about business stories. So this is a pretty interesting module, which is highly recommended for specific job roles, but it has become a part because almost all the skilled people can go and start with either self-employment or entrepreneurship. After that, we have another important career development and goal setting. Now, this is completely based on personal aspect or a personal trait of a person, how you plan your career based on your interest, your abilities, how you build your career path, and also includes job market research and how you set your goals, and then you manually monitor how you are achieving your goals so that you are moving in the direction, and also you ensure that at least you are moving. You are not stuck in a job which is leading nowhere. So to understand career development and how to set goals, this particular module also plays a pretty important role. Other than that, in almost every segment, when we talk about the service industries, especially our sector is not into manufacturing, mostly into service. So when it comes to service industry, customer service is one of the prime objectives of the industry itself. So to have a decent understanding of customer service, what is customer service, what is customer relationship, how to build customer relationship, what are the types of customer, how to probe, because these are the abilities which will enable you, especially if you are entrepreneurship, self-employed or client-facing, you are working in a client-facing job role. And then you have these specific techniques for communicating with the customers, and especially when it comes to sales, then how do you close sales deals? How do you get customer feedback? How do you work on customer feedback? So everything related to customer service is also delivered in this particular module. Finally, another very important but very less talked about module is about becoming ready or getting ready for apprenticeships and jobs. Now, this is all about the transition from your training phase to your working or your job phase. This entire transition, how it happens, what are the requirements during this transition period. We all talked about personal traits, and so most of the personal traits and mindset will apply to this when you are getting ready for jobs. So you are moving from learning stage to working stage, be it apprenticeship or be it a job. So this module covers all about personal grooming and hygiene, building a resume, preparing for an interview. Now, some of the places has been doing this where they have been training a candidate in preparing for an interview, for helping them out in building a resume. That has been already happening, but at not all the places. But in this particular module, we can ensure that every candidate who's going through the skilling system knows how to prepare for an interview, how to understand and how to be a part of an interview, how to build a resume. Plus, handling rejection and failure, that is also a pretty interesting read when you go through, because it happens quite a lot that it's not necessary that you get selected in your first interview. You go through a lot of interviews, and then how do you handle rejection? Means it's very much related to criticism, but sometimes rejection and criticism are a little different. So how to handle rejection, how to handle the failure, that also becomes a part of this particular module. Then if you look at these industry visits and platform-based jobs, and these are also covered. Applying for job through online portals, because in today's scenario, we are not into that old era where people used to go through newspapers to search for jobs or only word of mouth. But there are people who are actually going through these online portals to go through the jobs and search for the jobs, apply online. And then finally talking about enrolling for apprenticeship. These are all the modules which are covered in this particular book. And just give me a second. Okay, so so now if I take you through this, so again, let me get back to the number of hours. So this particular book is specific for 90 hours program. There are different 30 hours and 60-hour programs. So based on those programs, you can get the handbook. There might be differences in the number of hours, and one or two module may or may not be there. Usually you will find in the 30 hours course, the first one, employability skills, you will find that certain modules are not there. So once you are actually through with this particular one, which is this 90 hours, then you know what all different modules are there, what are the objectives. So this book has a lot of interesting activities which are there. And once you carry out these activities, then you can ascertain that the candidates have actually started getting a hang of all the modules which are there. So now, before we conclude, let's open it for some questions. So in case there are any questions related to what employability skills is, or if you find any kind of challenge that you foresee that might come while you are delivering this module, or anything specific to the delivery of employability skill modules, we can talk about, we can discuss all that. So please, you can open your mics and we can start talking about that. So once our discussion is over, then we have another session lined up here itself, where they will take you through the registration process and the certification process in a few minutes. So let's go through this discussion first, and then we can go ahead.
Can you share this book, PDF of this book?
So how can we get this workbook?
Okay. Let me talk about these books. In fact, all the employability books, whatever modules I was talking about, 30 hours, 30, 60, 90, 120 hours, in fact, 180 hours also might be coming up. These are all available on eSkilling website. So I will put that link in the chat box. Just give me a second. Let me put that in the chat box. You can download. All the books are there based on what module you are training. You can download that specific book. And okay, so I've given you the link in the chat box, eskillingindia.org/virtual-skill-hub. There you can just search for employability skills and you will get all the books. These books are available in English as well as Hindi for all different modules. So you can download any of the books. I would recommend downloading this 90 hours because it has got all the modules and easy to manage. If you're interested, you can go for the other ones also. So this book will help you greatly since this is a workbook.
Sir, we cannot find.
So we haven't received the link.
The link is not there.
It's in the meeting chat. You can see that.
It's not there.
So you need to send it to everyone.
Right. So it's here, right? Okay, now it should be there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yes.
So you can get all the books from this place. There are a lot more books. So that's a virtual skill hub. All the books are available for that purpose. So now, other than that, any other queries in delivering this particular module? Because this is going to be a part of each and every qualification pack. I'm repeating that it is going to be a part of each and every qualification pack. Depending on the level, the hours will change, but the content will remain the same. And it has become mandatory to go through these modules. And you will appreciate that these are pretty interesting modules, and many of the universities, colleges are already delivering something on these lines itself. But now, since this is a properly planned and structured format, this has been done by Directorate General of Training, DGT. So they've done a huge research, a lot of resources, people have been involved in developing this particular curriculum. So I would recommend, if you are already delivering something similar to this in your college, you go to this particular delivery module and then you deliver accordingly. And since this is a workbook, it has got some activities. Some of the activities which we had in this session are actually from the workbook itself. And there are a lot more activities that can be devised based on the ones that are there. Yes.
Sir, one thing I want to ask, if you put some light on that. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. In the realm of ChatGPT, as we were discussing AI and ChatGPT and all, the realm of ChatGPT, what are the, what should we go for creative thinking so that we can get some, so many particles, so many new avenues to make students much more, or rather to share students much more creative knowledge or creative thing. If you just put some light on that part, creative thinking in the realm of ChatGPT and AI.
Okay, so what I feel is, let me rephrase it and let's see if this is what I understood. So you are saying that because there is this availability of AI, whether ChatGPT, there are so many, ChatGPT being the most popular ones, and there are so many other AI tools which do a lot of work for us. So in this environment, how do we nurture creative abilities or creative thinking?
Creative thinking, yeah. How should I put creative thinking, or we have to research on that particular particle much more efficiently? Yeah.
So I exactly got your point. Now the very simple and very straightforward answer to that is, currently there are lot of discussions, roundtables going on exactly the question that you have asked.
Right.
How it has come. There are a lot of sessions on YouTube and a lot of discussions, a lot of podcasts on the exact thing which you have asked. That in this era, when there is so much information available, we sometimes might actually fall prey to AI and get into that direction. So how do we nurture creative talent? So there are certain things that we need to understand. First one is that the AI does some of the work which we already can do. Which I actually I heard this particular phrase in one of the podcasts somewhere, which was so interesting, that AI can do what a human has done before, but only a human can do what no human has done before. So when it comes to creative thinking or innovation, that is something AI is still lacking. Now, what can be done? Let's take an example to understand that. Let's say I want somebody to come out with creative writing. I want somebody to write a story. Because if you try, because I have been trying since a long time, even ChatGPT can write poems about something. But you go to ChatGPT, write poems about, let's say, around 50 things. By the time you read these 50 poems, you understand that the next time you see a poem, you would be able to identify whether it's an AI written content or whether a human has written it. Because the way it works is very different. So when you want something innovative, what happens is there are two segments. One is I think of an idea, a creative idea, and then what happens is I develop that idea. Let's say I think of an idea, I think of a story, I think of a screen, and then I want to write it down. So what I can do, how AI can help me is, let me explore using AI. Let me explore. Basically, ChatGPT is nothing other than Google, I guess. That's what it is doing. It's just presenting it in a different way, which actually makes my work easier. So if I'm looking for a different concept for a story, for a film, for a short film on, let's say, a social issue, that's my idea, that I want to make a short film on a social issue. So to explore that, there are better options. I use AI in exploration, for exploration purpose first. The very first thing is, instead of going and around and asking people and talking and doing a lot of surveys, what usually used to be done for identifying social issues for such purposes, is do a lot of research based on ChatGPT or any kind of AI. Ask them questions. They will collect that information and give it to you. When you identify certain points, that these are the points, I'm not looking at the content what they are giving me. I'm only looking at the essence of what the AI is giving me. Then I look at that, try to identify, then you cross check. Once you list down, let's say, 3 or 4 ideas, then you start working on those ideas. You add your thoughts, put it back into AI, let them write. So basically what I'm doing is, now AI is working like a steno. AI is not writing a letter for me. It is only writing a letter based on what instructions I have given. So I have made AI my steno, and it's always good to have a steno when you have a lot of writing to do. It saves your time, but you are the one making decisions. You are the one doing all the thinking. So only challenge right now is to ensure, because when you can't beat it, you join it. So there's no use keeping students or candidates away from these new technologies and asking them, don't use it, it will spoil the way you think. No, let them think. Let us introduce them to these platforms. That these are the platforms, because I've done it pretty recently, and I've come out with something very nice. The students also realize that AI तो basically the reply which I got was, AI तो AI ही है, काम तो खुद ही करना पड़ता है. This is that AI is just AI. The thinking we have to do. This
you mean ChatGPT has a definite pattern actually?
Yes,
pattern is,
and it will not give you when you are doing a creative work, because there was a task of writing a short script for a film. For a short film. That's why I was using that example. The students themselves came out and said that it's of no use. They tried to actually do that. Then we did a particular exercise. Then we thought that you think of an idea, make use of the AI in writing that converting that into words. So there they were able to do that. So they were able to use better vocabulary, because their vocabulary was limited. But when the script came out, it has very wonderful, very beautiful words. Vocabulary was very good. The grammar was perfect. But the idea was, the AI was not able to generate the idea. So the idea needs to be generated. So as I said, a lot of discussions are going on in this direction. So as far as my understanding is concerned, whatever I have come to know based on these things is that when you utilize these for certain tasks, it will actually enhance your creative ability. These modules, at least till today, and maybe hopefully in future, they cannot think for themselves. They can show as if they have empathy, but they don't generally have empathy. So the idea behind using these things and making sure the student or the candidate will remain creative is to utilize it for doing repetitive tasks. For example, when we create a storyboard, maybe there is no AI. It might come out in future where you just give text description and it will create a storyboard for you. That may come out very soon. So till now, there are some repetitive tasks. You would talk about storyboard for a film or a TV or something. Then if you have good understanding, usually you would want somebody else to create a storyboard for you because you are making some important decision. You explain it to him, and the person who's creating storyboard, a final storyboard or a finished storyboard, is a person who has very good skill at drawing or illustration. The person who's guiding the storyboard is the one who had very good perception about camera angles and screenplay and how the things come on screen. So the entire idea is about using those abilities. Put all the repetitive and mechanical tasks onto the machine and do a lot more creative work. So what I feel and what I have heard people talk about is that it will actually enhance creative abilities, because it doesn't happen that, because earlier I remember in my days I used to think of a idea or a story or something. Then the most boring part was when I had to write it down on a piece of paper. I had thought of it. I always wanted somebody should write it for me. I just thought, let's say I spend 2 hours in writing that. Instead of that, I can spend this 2 hours in thinking of something new. So this is going to free us from a lot of repetitive tasks. So even if we, let's say, talk about assessment for the student, our assessment has to evolve, because since AI has come, not only our student, the teachers and the entire system has to evolve. So we have to come out with new questions. We don't want to ask him कि पानीपत की लड़ाई कब हुई थी. We don't want to know the date when the war happened. But what do you think would have happened if the war would not have happened, or those kind of questions in history? You talk about cinema, we can talk about certain technologies. But what do you think about that? So it's basically about thinking, innovation, and then making some decisions based on certain things. Because when you talk about critical thinking, we have not talked about critical thinking as of now. When you talk about critical thinking, in certain cases, there may be more than one solution to a problem. When you think over a problem, when you try to solve a problem. When it comes to AI, as of today, they have very limited access to the solution. But only innovative solution can happen through humans. So it will promote a lot more discussion. I think a lot more productive discussion, because we'll be cutting out all the repetitive tasks, as we said. So that could prove to be very, very useful when it comes to using it in our education domain itself. Especially for, I would recommend all the trainers, since all trainers are here, you can try using ChatGPT for creating lesson plans. As there will be mistakes, I have tried to do that. There will be a lot of mistakes, but you will get a basic framework and then you can make changes. So it will save a lot of time. Whenever a new module comes, a teacher spends a lot of time in creating a lesson plan. So what will happen is you will at least get a structure. You can modify that structure. So you become a reviewer and then you think. So you spend more time in thinking rather than typing or writing it down. So that enables all of us to utilize our time much more efficiently. And that is one of the employability skills for us as trainers. We also need to update on that. Throughout the session, we talked about delivering the same thing to the candidate, but it also applies to us. If any one of us is a freelance or a entrepreneur or somebody who is self-employed, you will certainly love reading this particular book. In fact, this is something that you can just go through while traveling or something. So I highly recommend actually going through this particular book. If you are interested in reading, go for the larger version, 180 hours. If you want to save some time in reading, go for a shorter version of the book. Content is same, only the details vary a little bit.
Sir, can you show how to download on the website, sir? Because I'm unable to find it.
Yes, I'll do that. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen. Or just give me a second. Let me in fact, what I'll do is I'll give you the exact link of the page where you can download the book. So what I would do is I'll put another link in the chat, which is of the direct download. If you go to this specific page, this particular book is already there. There is a simple download button. You click on that. I think earlier I had given you the URL for the website. Now this is the exact URL for the book. on this page, reskillingindia.org/new employability. I think that should help. Now let's so let me connect you to the to one of our team members who will take you through the registration process. And so we'll be back in a minute.
Hello.
Hi everyone, this is Ayush Chaturvedi. Hello. So here I'm looking for the training and certification process. So I will guide you through the registration process on Skill India portal and how can you raise the request for the certification. Okay, and we will also share you the complete process on your email as well. So I think you already shared your emails with our team.
Yes.
Okay, so we will also share the email to you completely. But here I will present you the Skill India portal process.
Okay.
Okay, so just mentioning the link here. This is the Skill India portal link. You can just open it in Google Chrome. So I'll share my screen. Okay. Yeah, so here is the link. You can just mention this link. This is the link for the direct registration. When you open this link, you can just see this page. I think you can able to see this page. Anyone just confirm me? So,
yeah, yes, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sir. Actually, I have put it the same link in the Google Chrome, and but that one another interface is coming of Skill India. It is mentioning the Kushal Bharat or Kaushal Bharat, etc.
Might it will the home page of the Skill India. I'll show you the home page as well. Okay, this is the home page.
This one. Yeah.
Okay, so when you open this one, you need to click on login. Okay.
Then login. Okay.
Then
username and password.
Okay. Then you all need to select the option trainer Indian National. Okay.
No, in the login credential, what I have to give?
No, you just need to make a register. Login credential is already registered people. So first you need to register yourself. It is same like when you open or your Facebook or other social media account, you need to register yourself.
But so what user group should we select?
The user group is the trainer Indian National, the third one.
Indian National.
Yes. So when you select the trainer Indian National, you need to fill only 3 details here. That is your email ID and phone number. Your email ID and phone number should need to be active so that you can get on OTP on that for the verification purpose.
Indian. Okay, user group will be in Indian National.
Indian National, yeah.
Indian National trainer, Indian National. Okay, my name should be there. Yeah.
And the registration process is only a 1 or 2 minute process. You just need to verify your OTP and then you will be registered. You will get a OTP on your email.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so when you mention your name, email ID, and mobile number, click both the
ID, email ID required gmail.com.
And start the process right now as well.
879465446 terms and condition and report. Register. Okay. Enter email OTP and mobile OTP. Now both the OTP I need to put there, right?
Yes, both OTP.
Both OTP 242850.
Excuse me. Hello.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to open the link before. I'm able to open it now. So could you please give me like a
I just shared the link to the direct registration. You can just click on it. Just you can get on the page.
Yes, which one should I be selecting? Choose your user group.
User group is the trainer Indian National. Just see here.
User details. ID TR 09.
This is the user group you need to select.
Password.
And after the login, you need to complete your profile. So I'll just share you my own profile so that you can just go through the profile process. Like, what are the documents you need to upload and what are the process?
Right.
Yes.
I'll just log in my profile.
3D.
I am hello sir. I am facing a problem. I am trying to register and it's saying duplicate email ID and duplicate phone number.
So Mike, you already registered yourself, sir.
Today I didn't.
No, not today. Actually, this is a one-time process. So when you registered yourself with their credentials, it is already. You can search login on your email as well.
I can log in directly.
Sir, in old password, what I need to put?
You just need in old password. You need to mention the password you received on email. Actually, this password is valid for one time. When you start processing now, you need to create a new password by yourself.
Registration.
One problem I am facing that I have got OTP through mail, but I didn't get OTP through mobile actually. Should I regenerate?
Sometime you can get. Sometime it will take some time.
Okay.
Yeah, you will get. The OTP validation is around 10 minutes, so you can verify it 10 times. Okay, till the time I'll show you the process, how to complete the profile.
Okay, so can you show the trainer registration program after login?
Yes, I'm showing you. So when you complete your login credentials, you need to just mention the login credential. So simply you need to log in, and then this is the page dashboard. So when first time you will start processing, you will get on this page to complete your profile. You need to fill these basic details like your name, your date of birth, gender,
7, 8,
your photo, and basically, yeah.
सर जैसे हम OTP डाल रहे हैं, OTP हमारे पास जो रिसीव हुआ है उसको इनवैलिड OTP बता रहा है।
तो एक बार चेक कीजिए ना, फोन और ईमेल का OTP उसी ऑप्शन में डालें, ईमेल वाले में ईमेल का, इन फोन वाले में फोन का।
ओके ओके।
अगर नहीं होता तो आप रीसेंट OTP भी कर सकते हैं, दैट इज ऑप्शन।
Okay, okay.
And so you can just see here, this is the process. Total major, the mandatory documents is that you need to upload your photograph and your educational qualification document, your experience certificate, and your resume. These 4 documents are mandatory. And you need to select the sectors, that is the media entertainment. You see the profile.
Sir, it is showing in during the login process, it is showing that password does not match with the current password. What to do?
हाँ कर रहे हैं बेटा, मैं कुछ और काम में कर रहे हैं सर, कर रहे हैं।
Check the password, sir. Maybe some typing errors. When you try to log in, you need to use the password. First, you need to mention the password you received on email, that is in your old password, and new password you need to mention the password which is included your the one uppercase, lowercase, and total characters should be 8.
7
number also.
2
अरे छोड़ो भाई, मैं अभी भी रिकॉर्डिंग कर रहा हूँ, इससे ज्यादा बात नहीं कर सकते, पूरा सेशन रिकॉर्डेड।
No, it's continuously showing password does not match with existing password. Existing password means what? That I have received in email.
Yes.
For the 10 minutes validity wala.
Yes. No. Password is valid for a long time, but OTP is valid for 10 minutes.
So password is not matching. Password is here. I am putting the same password in 2 lines. Okay. So, but in the current password, what will it be?
That is a new password. You need to in old password you need to mention the password you received on email, and after that you need to mention your password 2 times. One is a new password.
That is I am trying. I am trying. That is I am trying. But in old passwords, if I just a second. 78264 78264. No, the password I am received in email. It is also showing that password doesn't match with current password.
You can just note down my number, connect me directly, I will sort it out.
Yeah, sure, please.
Anyone who is facing the issues, just contact me on. You can WhatsApp.
Can you please share your number, sir?
I mentioned in chat box. In chat box, I mentioned already my number.
Chat box.
So, with login, complete your profile. So the profile is it in 3 steps. In first step, you need to mention some basic details. Then second, you need to mention your address details. And in third one, you need to mention your educational qualification and experience details. After completing the profile, you need to apply for the certificate. I'll show you the certificate here. Hello.
9205752.
Please see here the process. These are the 3 steps you need to fill. First is the personal information. Second is contact and address. Third is education and work.
462.
And here you can select multiple options, trainer and master trainer as well.
What is the difference between master and master trainer?
The trainer is a normal who has experience around 3 to 4 or 5 years maximum. Master trainer who is expert in that can apply for master trainer as well. One person can be trainer and master trainer both.
Is PAN detail is mandatory?
No, PAN card is not mandatory. Only your Aadhaar detail is mandatory. So that you need to verify. Just see here, just see the screen. Here I am verified by Aadhaar. So actually, sometimes we face error on Aadhaar verification because right now the Aadhaar server is down. So might that will
another one question. What is the trainer and master trainer difference between both of them?
Anyone who is already registered, they just need to log in and complete their profile and raise the request for the certificate and inform to me so that we can approve their certificate. Then also send me on emails and WhatsApp as well. This is my email ID. So I think you understand the process.
So, is there a time limit to when we can receive the certificate?
Actually, right now we are doing this certification as soon as possible. And that is the maximum to 27 to 28 March.
Okay.
That we are planning. Okay. So before the time you get the certification in free of cost, after this, you will have to pay some amount for the certification and the training process also take time.
Okay.
We are just thinking that you can do as soon as possible so that all the industry partners can get the certificates.
Yeah, the main thing is like I have received the OTP through the email, but I haven't been able to receive any mobile OTP. So that's the reason why.
The number is correct and regenerate OTP. Sometimes it will face some error with networks and other things.
No.
And sometimes it will take time.
Okay.
You have time. You can try later also. Until you receive the login credential on your email, you can try multiple times.
46361.
And your number and email should need to be active to get the OTP.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Sir, this is the part of registration on portal, right? So
yes.
What are the next steps if it can be in clear?
Yes, so I'll update.
What will be done after the registration is done with? So this is the portal. We have to enter the personal contact, education details. So what is to be followed after that?
Okay.
Yes.
After this, you need to just click on the applicant dashboard. Just see the screen. Okay. You need to apply for the certification. So this is the option, the third option, that is a view certificates. You need to click on add basic certification. Okay. Here you need to select the sector, that is a media entertainment. And then you need to select job role. Job role is related in how many job roles you want it to be certified. You can job role as well. In one time you will select only one job.
So can we mute the people in the back?
Yeah. Please, other ones, please mute yourself.
In the select applicant category, should we have to select as trainer or master trainer?
So multiple you can select. Just click, just press the control and click both. You can select multiple.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Well. So here is the process. So you can select the job role, just like anyone wants to get certification in Animator. So here is the 3 versions of Animator. You need to apply for the higher version of that particular job role. So just like you can see here, the version, this is the version 3.0. So in this version, when you click on this, you need to select something that is a training of master trainer or training of trainer. So just like you all have the experience and expertise in the industry, you can apply for training of master trainer. And
Hello.
Select these fields.
Hello.
Yes.
There is a we cannot verify this OTP. How to verify this OTP?
You can just regenerate, sir. Sometime it will have errors on the website on server issues.
Oh, I will try 3-4 times, but still not operate.
Okay, you can connect me after the call. Huh? I'll guide you. I'll already share my contact number in the chat box. You can just reach out to me. Okay, or share the error screenshot on my WhatsApp.
सर ये जो पासवर्ड हमें रिसीव हुआ है ये क्या फिर से हम चेंज भी कर सकते हैं क्या? मैं आपकी आवाज में सुन नहीं पाया था।
सर पासवर्ड आपको अभी तो आप बाद में भी कर सकते हैं, कोई इशू नहीं है।
एंड सर आईडी जो आता है वो यूजर नेम देते थे, दैट मींस जो आपने ईमेल पे आईडी भेजा है वो
यस दैट इज अ टीआर आईडी, दैट वुड बी योर यूजर नेम। So just focus on this thing for the certification request, because this you need to apply after completing it. Okay, the profile process is yours, so you can do at any time. And after completing your profile, you need to apply for the certification. So this is the way how you need to apply for the certificate. So I'll start.
There's one thing I want to know. Actually, what is to be uploaded here? File size up to 5 MB, photograph or PAN card?
Sir, the detail is mentioned there. What is asking?
No. Here, year of establishment is there, and thereafter choose the file size up to 5 MB. So, is it the file of institute to be uploaded? Or?
No. You need to upload the documents related to that requirement. Just like when you fill the details of PAN card, you need to upload the PAN card picture. And when you mention the photograph, then you need to upload your photograph. Just see here.
Only one option is there.
Just see here, sir. Okay. So you are asking in this option, upload PAN document.
Yes.
So when you click on this, you need to upload your PAN card photograph. So I had not mentioned my PAN card here, so I just upload my photograph in this option. Upload new photograph. Or I already upload my photograph. That is asking for new photograph.
Gaurav sir, I need an advice from you.
No, sir, this is Ayush.
Sorry.
This is Ayush Chaturvedi. Gaurav sir.
Ayush, I'm really sorry, Ayush sir. I wrote a wrong name. Ayush sir, basically what is happening is I have put in my Aadhaar number, and now when I click verify, it is saying wrong Aadhaar data.
So you also need to focus on one thing. You just check that your name which you mentioned here, that should be according to your Aadhaar card.
Okay, sir. Understood.
No difference on the name.
That is a mistake I did, sir. Thank you.
So when you do this, it will be verified. Okay, so when you click on upload your photograph and select these fields, you can just continue, save, and next you can get a new page. Okay, so for contact details, you need to fill your basic details. Then
complicated
education and work. So when you click on education, you need to fill this field just like education, attend, detail of education. Upload the document of education, just like you can upload your mark sheet or certificate of that particular degree, and then click on save and add, so that it will be added here. And then you need to select the experience details. You can mention here.
Sector. Sir, I have now crossed the first stage. So now I was thinking if I log out, then I can always log in again and fill it later also, no, sir?
Yeah. Anytime you can do that.
All right, sir. Sir, I have a very important question, sir. When we did the master training workshop, like 9 happened in Noida. So the certificate which I received was of the different trait. It was related, but it was different than what I had given my assessment for. So now when you said that one can fill in more than one traits also.
It is dependent on which job role you are applying for. You will get the certificate accordingly. So the profile process is complete. I'll show you the certificate request process. So everyone focus here because you need to do this process, because profile process you can complete by yourself, but here you need to focus. So just you need to select the sector, then apply for the particular job role. There are 100 job roles which are available on our Skill India portal, and 8 customized job roles. That is for some time duration. So you can apply for these 100 job roles, but apply for the higher version of that particular job role. Just like Animator, I'll show you the example. In Animator, I'll select the version 3.0. You need to select training of master trainer. Online, batch mode would be online, and some mandatory fields you need to fill. You need to fill your state. Okay, so I'll mentioning my state and districts as well. Okay, so these are the details you need to fill only. Just click, even if you want, you can take a screenshot of it as well. Screenshot so that you can be sure about the what the details. And here you can do for the training of trainer new and the training of master trainer as well. Both you can apply.
Hello?
Yes.
So what is the next step now?
Sir, sir, is this for registration for enrolling in the training of trainers program, master trainer program, or is it to download the certificate directly for the 2 days workshop? So I'm getting a bit confused here.
You can directly get the certificate after when you raise the request. We will approve your certificate. Once we will verify your profile and approve the certificate, then you can download your certificate.
So can you give me the timeline, like how much time will it take? Is there another training process involved?
No, ma'am. No. Actually, for the industry expert or some experienced person, this is the only 1-day program. You will get your certificate by tomorrow maximally. If you apply by today.
Okay, sir. Can it be shared through email because we have registered?
No, ma'am. You can download on your portal.
I'm not getting your answer.
You can download the Skill India portal itself on your login credentials. You just see the process. I'm doing it. Okay. So I will apply for the request. Okay. So I need to fill only these details. You can take a screenshot of it as well. Okay. So these are the job role on which I apply. This is the job role. This is the category. You can raise the multiple requests as well. And I just submit it. Okay.
सर जो नीचे वाला है वो आप लोग बैकएंड से भरेंगे सर्टिफिकेट नंबर और वो सारी
चीजें. Yes. That is our process. Okay, so here you can see that I raise the request. You can check after raise the request. Now you can check here that for how many job roles you apply for the job role. I also raise one more certificate request. Okay, just focus here. For the same job role, I'll apply as a trainer and master trainer both.
Okay, that was my next question. For trainer and master trainer, we have to apply separately.
You can apply.
All right.
Okay, so last one was for the trainer, and this one was for the master, for the trainer only. Okay, so only these basic details you need to fill. The version should be the higher version of the particular job role because the old version was disabled already.
Right.
Again, I just click here and click on submit. So you can just see here. I get 2 requests here for the same job role, trainer and master trainer. Okay, and state is pending. So when you complete this process, now you just need to inform us by WhatsApp, by email, by call. Any way you can just inform me so that I can approve your request.
Right, sir. Sir, sorry for asking again. Your name is Ayush Chaturvedi.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So when we approve the request, now you can just see here. Approve. Query. So after completing this process, now you just need to raise the request. just inform us so that we can approve the certificate request. You need to get the certificate from here. And then you need to give some basic feedback details. Okay. I'll show you another example. That's how you can get the certificate. I'll log in with my different logins and show you the certificate.
The registration.
So from here you can see the certificate. Okay.
The data birth
how can I get the certificate? When you click on the approved certificate request, you need to just click here. UXN and then download certificate. You need to give some feedback. Just like this. This is mandatory. Actually, you need to do this to get the certificate. So the feedback is done. Now you can just download the certificate. I'll show you the certificate as well. See the certificate. This kind of certificate you will get after completing this. Please, everyone, see the certificate.
Yes. Right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so this kind of certificate you can get after completing the process.
सर एक क्वेरी था जो मेरा पुराना सर्टिफिकेट मैं आपसे बोल रहा हूँ गलत है मैं उसको भी आपके पास स्कैन करके मेल पे रिक्वेस्ट भेज सकता हूँ फॉर करेक्शन.
Sir, how the grade is decided? Like it is marked B over here.
For the master trainer, the grade would be A, and for the trainer, grade would be B. That is our process only. When you apply for the certification, we will decide which kind of grade we need to give. You can mention yourself only the request as a numbers. So any person who get the score over 90, they will get a grade of A, and who get the below 90, they can get a grade B.
So that is what I asked earlier. Is there any other assessment? You told me no.
No, ma'am. This is for the industry expert. They not need to do the assessments. Normally, the process is for the assessment, but right now we are doing only the certification.
So can you explain it again?
I'm saying normally it is required to give the assessment for the other peoples, but as you all are the experience and doing the training in the school and college, so you don't need to give the assessment right now. We just doing the certification of you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Got it.
This is only the one-day workshop to get the certificate.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so this is the way you can apply for multiple job role as well, and you will get the certificate for that. Okay, so I think all of you got the process. Anyone have any kind of doubt, just reach out to me anytime. I already mentioned my contact details here.
Sure, sir.
WhatsApp and message. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Can we know on what basis we are graded B and A, sir?
Ma'am, it is depend in which process you applied right now. Okay, if you want to be a trainer, you will get a B certificate for grade B.
Sir.
If it is master trainer, A, sir?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
For the master
still I cannot go to the registration.
So you can connect me directly, okay, on my number. I will guide you. And just be ready with AnyDesk so that I can complete the process on your system.
Can I, sir, after the internet is well, sir?
Yeah, internet also need to be well.
Oh, okay, after that,
So you can connect me anytime. Okay. So I think the queries is enough. So anyone have doubt, please reach out to me. You can raise your concern right now as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your support and guidance. Thank you.
Any technical issue, you can just reach out to me anytime. Anyway, all the persons whose message in the chat box, they can just raise your hand and ask your questions. So for OTP, if anyone face the issue in the getting the OTP, it is a network issue, so you can apply it later also.
Sir, will we receive an email of all these instructions to be followed? The registered email IDs on which we have registered for this TOT?
Sorry?
So can we get an email of the instructions? Like
yes, definitely. I think we have your participation list. So on your given emails, we will send you the process.
Okay. That's
complete registration and other process as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think now we can complete the session.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, anyone have doubt, just reach out to me directly. I already shared my contact details. You can just reach out to me. I'll help you out in the technical process. But please do it as soon as possible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before 20, we can get you certified. Maximum date is 20.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much.